The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. It's our weekly catch-up with you. It's the Sandy and Toddcast, and we've got another episode with one of our own.
Yeah, I'd say that one of our own. Eron Mazza joins us to talk all about their brand new podcast, The Witching Hour with Eron Mazza, and we have some fun along the way.
We do, and it has to do a lot of it with you, at least to begin with. We'll get into that in just a little bit. It's Season 4, Episode 10, The Witching Hour with Eron Mazza, and it's next on the Sandy and Toddcast.
Crowds, arguments, loud noises, narcissists, energy vampires. Does that seem scary to you? It can to an empath. Sandy and Todd from the Sandy and Toddcast invite you to join them for a new podcast, the Empathecary Podcast. These two empaths know exactly what it's like, and they'd like to share their stories, knowledge, and ideas with you. Dive deep into the world of the empath. The Empathecary Podcast with Sandy and Todd. Find it anywhere you find your podcasts and like them on Facebook.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day, all while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
Welcome back to the Sandy and Toddcast. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
And here we are with another week, another podcast. And we did something that we haven't done for a while. We did a live cast this week.
Yeah, we did a live cast for the first time in literally months. I think the beginning of December was the last one we did. And we were doing them pretty regularly, but then we took the time off for the holiday and it turned into months long because of, you know, what happened with your leg and everything. So we thought we'd invite Eron Mazza back on the show and do a live cast. And boy, it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with it.
It was a lot of fun. And typically, as is typical when we have them on, something happens. One time there was a misunderstanding about time zones. This time we were waiting them to show up because they were driving from work. And we actually got an audio message that we had a little fun with during the live cast as well. So
yeah, and you guys will hear that, I think, probably 10 to 12 times throughout the entire live cast.
I thought about pulling it up today and having it ready for this particular podcast, but I think we've got.
You didn't.
Well, I think it was just because I didn't want to make the effort to do it, but otherwise I would have definitely brought that up. So
True. So yeah, we had a really good time with that. We'll talk all about their new podcast, why I really love it. I actually edit and produce their podcast for them. So Aunt Sandy, as they love to refer to me, I'm not even sure where that even came from. But it's just sort of a term of endearment.
Well, yeah, I think it is because of the way you oversee what they're doing. Yeah, you know, you got to make Aunt Sandy happy, or you know,
Yep.
We'll hear about
Aunt Sandy and her magical poncho.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, we did talk about this the other night. The name of that shirt, they call it a poncho. I didn't even know that. So that made it even funnier. And I said, guess what, you guys? I'm going to have even more ponchos this summer.
Well, if anybody's going to know a poncho, Aaron's going to know a poncho. They'll be able to pick one out in a crowd like that, I'm sure.
Ain't that the truth?
And you know what? I wonder if they don't own a poncho or two.
You know, I bet they secretly do, and they just don't want us to know about it because you know how it is.
All
when
right,
you make
Eron,
fun of something, you might have one.
Right,
I know, right?
Right? Isn't that the old adage? Like, if they're making fun of it, they are that whatever they're making fun of.
That's right. That's right. So, so we had a lot of fun with Eron, and we'll play that live cast for everybody in just a few minutes. But one thing I wanted to mention before we start talking about anything else is, you know, you and I love the Dead Files. I just want everybody to know, I came across it on Facebook today. that I think it's the weekend of April 2nd.
Right.
They're celebrating their 200th episode anniversary. So I'm really looking forward to that. So everybody check that out. I'm not sure if they're going to run it on Travel Channel or Discovery Plus or both.
Here's another point that I wanted to make since you brought her up. They're looking for new people for another season. But she is letting people know that they are working so hard on these places that they've gone in and done the research on. And, you know, she's got teams of people that'll come in and help. And she's basically saying, yes, we need you. If you're interested in getting our help, great. But you may have to do the work yourself. They are inundated with the work now that they're doing to help people. So she put it out there on social media this week that, listen, we want to come help you, but there's only so much that my team and I can actually do. So
yeah. They actually did, I can't remember for the life of me what season it was, but they did one. There was a man who bought I think it was an old farmhouse and wanted to turn it into a bed and breakfast, not that far from me. Actually, not that far from where my camp is, and probably a good 20 minutes from my camp, if that. And I still have to go hunt it down. And so they were out there in one of the seasons doing that. And it was really interesting because the guy was kind of playing around with the whole paranormal world and, not really egging it on, but being very inquisitive about it, I guess you could say. And I think that kind of kicked things up even more. So, yeah, it wasn't that far from where we are. I would love to meet her. I think she's great.
There's been a couple of their episodes, their cases that have been very, close here. And one of the guys that is their, what's the people that do like your history, your family
genealogist?
Yeah, the genealogist that they've talked to is somebody that I know. He was a TV broadcaster for many, many years, and he always did genealogy on the side. So when they're in this area, that's the guy they always use.
It's going to be really good. I'm very excited about it. We see a lot of run-of-the-mill, and I hate to say run-of-the-mill, but kind of run-of-the-mill, cookie-cutter, ghost hunting shows.
Yeah.
And they've always been different. Just like Kindred Spirits has always been a little different. And another one we love, Ghost Brothers, which, by the way, I sent you the link. They actually have a podcast now on Spotify and Audible. The Ghost Brothers do. So I've got to check that out and listen to some of their episodes, too.
Well, we're going to get ready to get Eron on here and talk with them about their podcast. But first, I just wanted to mention that we saved some audio from our live cast the other night. Because it pertains to the one and only Aunt Sandy herself.
It's the I hate you laugh.
And it has to do with her technical prowess or lack thereof.
Yeah, that's right.
Again,
I have none.
Listen, I think, and I love you, but I think of all the little mishaps with technology and the non-understanding, this might be the one that just is the cherry on top of the cake.
Well, let me just preface this by saying, thank God I thought to think about Dave and make him come up here sooner rather than later.
Did he say anything?
It's normal. It's normal. Typical.
Right, okay. All right, so here's that audio, right? I have got the story of all stories for you right now.
What?
Every goddamn time we record a podcast or we get on one of these things, there is some sort of technical issue on her behalf. She can't get it figured out. There's no audio. There's no audio on she can't hear me. I can't hear her. The lights aren't working. Something is not quite correct. So now I'm not done. You just shut up for a minute. So we get on this thing at about, I'm just gonna make a time up at 7:35, 7:40. We show up here. As we mentioned, Eron's gonna be joining us. They're on their way back home from work. And I get on and I'm like, I see that tapestry behind her and I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And she's going, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm like, yeah, it's just beautiful. I think it looks great. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
So I had to call Dave up.
No, I'm not done. I'm telling the story. So then she does the, I'm going, I can hear you. And she goes, can you hear me? Okay, like she's not even looking at me. I'm saying, yes, I can hear you. So she's going nuts. I'm trying to type to her, sending messages. Check this, check that. She's not. Can you hear me? What's wrong here? Okay, so she's doing that whole thing. She gets on the phone because Dave's right downstairs. So what do? You pick up your cell phone and you call your husband downstairs.
I was all hooked up. I didn't want to unhook.
Hi, it's Dave. Yeah, can you come up here? I'm having problems. I can't handle this. So he comes upstairs. Now, in the meantime, I'm saying, check this, check that, blah, blah, blah. So he walks in and he's in the room for about 10 seconds. And he says, you want to plug your headset in over there? Your headset? It was just dangling. Wasn't plugged into anything. Can you hear me?
Well, no, but I was
Then she says, did you hear that exchange? And I said, absolutely not. I didn't hear any of it. Knowing full well, I heard the whole damn thing. And all I could think of is, here we are again with her and her technical prowess.
I don't know what I'm doing. I've never lied about that. I've always been very straightforward. I have no idea what I'm doing.
There's a difference from, not being able to switch over sound cards to not having your headset plugged in. There's a big difference.
Listen.
So there you go. Just, forgot to plug it in. And here's the thing. I was going to say, is your headset plugged in? But then I thought, is that too demeaning? Should I not say that?
Nothing is too demeaning when it comes to me and technology, Todd. Come on. You know that. What have we been through? We've been through an awful lot.
There's a cord hanging, just dangling there, not connected to anything, and she wonders why.
I was so proud of myself for figuring out how to hook up the new webcam and everything.
Looks great, by the way.
Excited.
Looks
Thank
great.
you.
And your background is beautiful, too. So
I love it. Although your cousin shared her thoughts on how I looked like Miss Congeniality, especially with I do kind of look like I have a halo or, the sun, a crown.
Kind of look like Lady Liberty a little bit.
I know.
With the little thing. But it was a really cool background. I hope you keep it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to keep it. I'm definitely going to keep it.
All right, let's do this. I'm going to let you intro them because you get to work with them every week and edit their podcast, and you are the Aunt Sandy to them. So I'll let you do the little intro piece this week.
Well, I truly love them, and they have come leaps and bounds since the first episode of this podcast, and when it was just nothing but a little thought in their mind, and it's just a wonderful podcast. The Witching Hour with Eron Mazza, and Eron does such a fantastic job, so we'd like to introduce to you, once again, they've been with us before, the Eron Mazza, right on the Sandy and Toddcast.
Eron is actually in the process of just sitting themselves down in front of a camera right now. And before I bring them out, I'm going to do this one more time.
I am traveling at breakneck speeds through Clarkson, Missouri, trying not to get a ticket.
Can they hear that?
They can hear that. Yeah. They're adjusting their lights and stuff right now. So hang on a second here. Let's peek in and see what they're up to as we speak.
Okay, let's do it.
There's only one person I know whose neck's going to get broken if they play that again.
So let me ask you this, since we've had no time to actually prepare, are you able to take your phone and spin it on its side by any chance?
Yes.
So we can get a bigger view. Look
there
at that.
We go.
See, that's the picture we want to see.
Look at that. I love that face.
Having their diet 7-Up. So
no, it's my first 7-Up of the night. You don't want me on here if I'm drinking other stuff.
Speeds through Clarkson, Missouri, trying not to get a ticket.
This is why I don't send you stuff, Todd.
Now they know what it's like, though. Keep calling my shirt a poncho, which, by the way, you two will be really happy to know that I looked it up today, and they do call it a poncho. They call it a poncho shirt.
I was just being prophetic, and ponchos just seem to accentuate your personality, Aunt Sandy.
Thank you. They're going to, guess what? You're getting a new one this summer too. I'm gonna add to the wardrobe.
Is it leopard print?
I don't know what it's gonna be yet. I'm still trying to decide what I want to do. Look,
I don't have a copy of the poncho that we're specifically talking about to throw up. But,
the white one, black and white one?
I don't have that available.
No.
Does it sparkle? It looks like it has sequins on it.
No, I'll tell you what, though, in the summertime, it's so comfortable. So, screw you, Erin. I don't care. Hi, Sudi. Sudi's on.
There's a new production company. Screw you, Erin.
Brought to you by Screw You, Erin Productions. So, all right. So, you're finally with us. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now, and there's so many things we want to talk about. Tell us what you've been up to.
I am actually working on season 2 of The Witching Hour, which is a Mindgarden podcast.
That's right. Yes, yes. And we love having you on there because I think you're doing an amazing job.
I learned how to not eat the microphone. And I'm sure Todd will have something to say about this. I listen to my own podcast because I like the sound of my own voice. And so I call it quality control, but really, I just like the way I sound.
You sound good. You do a good job with it.
I think it's important to listen because then I think you're your own worst critic and you find things that you would do differently, et cetera. So I think it's always a good idea. Sandy's had a lot of good things to say about the podcast, and Sandy's not somebody. Sandy's two people. She's the kind of person who will lie to your face and tell you she loves what you do. She thinks you are just the best thing in the world when deep down inside she hates. Oh, yes, you are. You do it on the podcast a lot. But then in the other thing, she was really giving you a compliment by saying that she thinks you're doing very, very well.
Yeah,
so,
you really are. First of all, you're lying. And second of all, yes.
Lying.
Yes, you are.
I'm so excited about this. I'm just so excited. And
because I am.
Okay.
I am. So let's talk about The Witching Hour with Eron Mazza. It's a little while, we were talking about it for a little bit after you started.
Uh-huh.
What made you decide that you just wanted to go for it?
I just got over my fear, and it's something I been aspiring to do for a long time, but I had no idea where to start. But then I met you two, and I'm still cleaning up the emotional damage.
It's going to be a long time with that.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
But like I said, I met you guys, and you guys got me pointed in the right direction, and here we are. The last episode of season 1 comes out next week, and I get to have Christopher Pinzak on.
Which I'm very excited about because I didn't really know a lot because I edit your podcast, so I get to listen to them before everybody else. And I will give you this, all of your guests I didn't know about because the type of guest that you have is not somebody that I actually would normally listen to. Mm-hmm. And I do know about Christopher Pinzak, and I am not lying, but I am really excited to hear this one because I think it's going to be really, really fantastic, like the other ones. And one thing I will say about your guests is that everybody is a little bit different. Everybody looks at things from a different perspective. You don't have the same guest on every week just with a different name. There's all, there's all different types of, you just did the, was it the voodoo? He was voodoo priest.
He was a Haitian Ungan. He was a high priest of Haitian voodoo.
What a great episode that was. Seriously.
I enjoyed doing it because we broached some subjects that are really difficult to talk about. Mm-hmm. Especially in magical communities. And in my last episode with Austin Fuller, the owner of Bane and Bramble, we talked about another subject like the commercialization of witchcraft. But I'm not going to go into it because I want you all to go and listen to it.
Right, right.
After this show, just don't go right now.
Let me ask you this. Of all of your guests on season 1, did you have a guest that was absolutely your favorite?
I would have to say it's a toss-up between Storm Fairy Wolf was one. Okay, I have my top 3. Storm Fairy Wolf, I love them all. I wish I could put them all in the top spot, but I was really excited to talk to Storm Fairy Wolf.
And what was that conversation about? What was that conversation?
It was about queer spirituality and his newest book that's coming out. He has another book out, and I'm totally going to plug it right now, called The Witch's Name.
Yeah.
And he's got another book coming out called The Satyr's Kiss, and we talked about that book in particular, which is a book of queer spirituality, but not just everybody can read it because everybody can get something out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really interesting because, of course, I have many friends who are part of the LGBT plus community, but I don't really understand that aspect of it, you know? And so for me, it was kind of enlightening to hear someone who was very kind and patient and knowledgeable, who explained that whole genre that I didn't know anything about.
It was it's because he writes books. Yeah, it's like for the LGBTQ community, but like I said, he writes books with the intention of everybody getting something out of it.
Right.
And that's kind of how every episode I would ask my guest, so how did you find witchcraft? And just every time it's just different answers.
Right.
Every time, and that's witchcraft itself. There's no one set way. There is no dogma in witchcraft, and that's one of the things I'm trying to emphasize with this podcast. There is no rigid set rules to be able to practice.
Now,
do you find like a lot of other, and I hate to call them religions, but a lot of other belief processes that there are some people who just believe their way is the right way, though, and they kind of propagate that?
I've heard of people in the community who have tried to do that. They pretend like they have all the answers, but that's sort of the way, if they're truly following and trying to figure out witchcraft and saying their answer is the right answer, that's kind of something that's kind of risky business in my book, because then you become sort of like organized religion. I'll say that. If you think your way is the only way, the way I see it, that's not a true path of freedom. You're just confining yourself with something else.
Well, and a lot of the topics we talk about, from, whether it's witchcraft or it's woo-woo or it's ghosts or it's UFOs or it's whatever it is, Bigfoot.
Hey, Todd, say woo-woo again. I'm entertained by it. It regales me.
Woo-woo.
Hang on just 1 second there.
I'm traveling at breakneck speeds through Clarkson, Missouri, trying not to get a ticket.
That's why you have friends.
It's okay.
That's why you have no friends.
It's fine. I'm fine without friends. But what I was trying to say was, when in all these different groups, the stuff we talk about, when somebody tries to say they have the answer, I'm totally turned off by it. I'm done with. I'm kind of done with their presentation or their information, because I think everybody's got a different journey. Your witchcraft journey is different from somebody else's. Somebody's paranormal journey is different from another person's. I just think the minute somebody says this is the way it is and expect people to just kind of follow, I'm done. Yeah. I can't do it.
That's almost like a cult, just like a super duper religious cult. Say this way is the only way, and all the other ways are absolute BS.
You know what that reminds me of? I've gotten people who send me pictures or videos. I had a video about a month ago sent to me, and this girl had lost, I think it was her brother. It was a while ago, her brother, and she shot out her back door. It was all glass. Shot with the camera, with the video.
I was like, what?
No. Well, we do live in the sticks. But she shot her video outside of her back door because she saw what she thought was an orb, and she was pretty convinced it was her brother. And having experience in the paranormal world, it was pretty obvious to see it was probably just lens flare off the camera, because as she moved the camera, it moved with her in the same way. So if she jiggled the camera, it jiggled too. But she truly believed that it was probably her brother. And I said to the person who sent it to me, if that's what she wants to believe, there's nothing wrong with that. If that brings her peace and fulfillment, then that's what she should believe. And I feel that way with religion as well. It shouldn't be thrown into a box and just said it's this way or else, because we all have different life experiences and different expectations from the way that we worship or experience religion.
And I mean, it's kind of like if it's not hurting anybody, if it's not hurting the environment, just leave people alone.
Yep.
And who's to say that that instance couldn't be where circumstance just happened to line up, and she did that and she saw all that right there. Who's to say that it wasn't sort of like okay, I'm going to be kind of woo-woo, Todd. Who's to
Let me
say
find that audio again real quick here.
No. But it's who's to say it wasn't that particular instance just wasn't their benefit, just that particular moment, seeing that lens flare in there just was for her, you know?
Right.
It's kind of hard to explain.
One of my favorite guests that you have, and I'm sorry, but the name escapes me, but you'll know as soon as I start talking about it, we were talking about healing, end of life healing. Which of your guests was that?
Chris Allen.
Chris Allen. And he was saying that there's two types of healing at the end of life. There's the healing that makes you physically better. Mm-hmm. And then there's the healing that helps you go. And I just found that stuck with me through of the whole season. That piece stuck with me the most because I thought that was beautiful. Because if you think about it, you know, what's the best gift that we can give to somebody who's suffering is to heal them enough to let them go to the other side and alleviate that suffering. I thought that was beautiful.
I have known Chris for a number of years. He is probably one of the most peaceful, serene individuals I have ever met. And they talk about, and the way he talks just about death, he makes you more comfortable with that. Because at the end of the day, it's coming. We're all going to be there one day.
Right. Yeah.
Until I find the Sorcerer's Stone and I make myself immortal.
Well, I just thought that he was a fantastic guest, and his words really stuck with me. Like I said, through the whole season, I think that it was very, it just made a lot of sense. It didn't seem like it was just, you know, going off in different directions. It was, this is the way it truly is, in a very kind way. And I just thought that was fantastic. So kudos to you for getting such wonderful guests.
Thank you. Chris actually sought me out. He's like, I want to be on the show. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great.
It's great. Are you planning on for season 2? Are you going to do a guest every week again? Or every episode again? Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I really do.
I'm just the Barbara Walters of the witchcraft community.
In more ways than one. My question is this, though, and that is, I have not seen Aunt Sandy on the podcast, and I certainly haven't seen myself on the podcast. And I'm just wondering, with as much, guest time as we've given you, and certainly the amount of time Aunt Sandy takes to clip your stuff up, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had her on? You missed it, by the way, Erin. Did you hear the story about it prior to the podcast tonight?
No.
what your producer pulled?
What?
You're gonna have to go back and watch this.
Just
but
don't.
You may want to think about getting a new producer after you hear the fact that she couldn't hear anything because her headset was not plugged in.
Don't encourage him, please. Don't encourage him. My favorite parts of editing their episodes, though, is the before, because the conversations are hilarious. And I don't even know how I started getting called Aunt Sandy, but whenever he refers to his producer as Aunt Sandy, I just die. I'm cracking up. And then they were having a conversation with one of the guests a couple of episodes ago, and they were like, apparently, like you were late to one, you got your time zones mixed up. And of course we had to refer back to the time that they were late on our podcast, our live cast, and we had to fill time for 20 minutes. And I lost it.
Hanging out in the shower, getting cleaned up while we're sitting here waiting for them.
Yep, I was singing too. I had the radio going, and I'm like, why is Todd calling me? Oh, are you gonna show up on the show? And I go, what do you mean? Then I go, time zones.
Yeah, it's definitely confusing. So, speaking of the devil, we're an hour later tonight, but we have a nice amount of people. So, thank you everybody for joining us on our first live cast since, I don't know, Todd, probably the beginning of December.
Since before the holidays, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really nice to see everybody.
And our next one is planned for Thanksgiving, so we hope to see you then.
Well, like I said, it's going to be, when you are able to do them. So it might be a little sketchy here and there, but
until then,
we'll get
you
back
have
to
my
it.
show. You have my podcast.
That's right. So tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
You can find my podcast on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, almost anywhere you can listen to your podcasts. You can find yours truly. And Todd, as a matter of fact, I was going to the bathroom this morning and I thought about you and Sandy.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
There it
look
is.
at that logo.
There it is.
Logo.
Awesome. Yeah, and you did come a long way. It's very funny when we first were working out your audio, because you go through Anchor. And when we were first trying to figure out your audio, you had so much distortion. I couldn't even figure out what you were saying. And
I was like this close to the microphone.
And I'm like, Erin, you can sit back from the microphone. It's okay. But now you sound fantastic. So good job. Good job. You're doing good.
I'm trying to get that Todd voice because I have to go a few octaves deeper. And I have to talk like I have a mouthful of gravel.
There's the knee cam.
Oh my god!
Which is probably a little bit. Yeah.
Looks like Mars. There we go.
Looks like Mars. It does kind of look like Mars, doesn't it?
Is that the scar?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, poor Todd. Even I feel bad for you.
That's why I'm doing it. That's why I took time to put a camera there so everybody feels bad for me.
Anyways, so let me ask you this, because you asked some very good questions, and I've wanted to ask you this for a while. I figure this is a good place to do it. How much do you prepare before your interviews? Do you go off of, do you just go in the moment, or do you really have a plan as to what you want to ask?
I write out my questions. I work on it usually a few days before I actually start recording and getting with the guest. And I just use those questions as a skeleton to ask other questions. Like I'll ask the question and they'll say something. If it intrigues me, I'll doodle it in my notebook, because I have a notebook open in front of me. Then I'll be like, let's go back to this when you said that. So
Yep.
I definitely behave like a Virgo.
I love asking that question because it's sort of like musicians. I like to ask musicians a lot. Do you write the lyrics first and then put music to it, or do you come up with the music and then add lyrics? So I just was interested because Todd and I don't really prepare that much for our stuff. Like we just have ideas. What are you waving?
Those are my notes that I have.
Oh, I don't make notes at all.
Oh, no, really?
I don't. I just go. I go with it. Whatever comes up. Well, I'll take that back.
Me? I can't hear you.
I take that back, though. Sometimes I will, if I find a story or something, I'll have that ready. But for the most part, I just talk. So there.
I like to plan. I like to have a constructed episode because I just want to pick their brains. I want to, because you've heard a few of my guests go, oh, wow, I think I did getting out of that question.
Yeah.
And I'm like, answer it. Get out now. Answer it.
Who is your dream guest? If you could have a guest on that, like, would just blow you away, who would that be?
Are we talking living or dead?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. You're the
I
best.
would love to have Aleister Crowley on.
Yes.
That would be amazing. I think that would be like one of my most listened to episodes is Aleister Crowley.
I'm sure. That would be great. So,
and living, I would probably have to say, like Lori Cabot.
Oh, who was it who was under her, who learned under her?
Christopher Penczak.
Yes, Christopher Penczak. Yes. Yeah.
And I've also started working with, I don't know, but I've plastered it all over my social media. I'm working with Llewellyn to help try to get even more episodes of this next season.
Well, explain that for people who don't know what Llewellyn is. Explain
Let's talk about that.
Llewellyn is one of the biggest metaphysical, witchy, spiritual publishers in the world. And and I'm working with them to get some of their authors and people who are writing books and making like card decks and stuff. I'm trying to get them on the show. But at the same time, and they're just sort of funneling people with me to ask questions and to help promote their projects.
That's wonderful. I know you were really excited about it. And
I am. They sent me a box full of stuff that I haven't opened yet.
Uh-huh.
Let's do it here. Open it right here on the show. Come on.
An unboxing. This
Absolutely.
is exciting.
And
right
I'll have
here.
To record it too. Record it. Okay.
Right here on the Sandy and Toddcast.
Brought to you by
Llewellyn.
Look at how I'm excited about this. I wonder what's in there.
See here. Hope I don't cut my finger on the Sandy and Podcast.
Oh, our first medical emergency.
Yeah, I'd start screaming, Jared!
Why hasn't Jared made an appearance yet?
Jared, your presence is being requested.
I've been waiting.
I love that the closet door is wide open and we can just see what's in there. That is great.
I know. It's very fashionable, isn't it?
Kind of, maybe not.
They sent me the publicist sent me a cute little card.
Oh.
Let's see. They sent me Seeking Fairy.
Oh, that's cool.
It looks to be a book about the hidden world of the Fae.
I have to ask you about that after we get done with the box too.
Okay. They also sent me a positive pagan.
Oh, positive pagan.
By Lisa Wagner.
Is there a negative pagan?
Of course there is.
It's whenever you that's how you make more pagans with the negatives. Get it? Negative pagan. But it's Positive Pagan by Lisa Wagner, and Seeking Fairy is by Emily Carding.
Future guest, maybe.
Yes, most definitely. I'm just making a list in my head. And also this book by that Storm Fairy Wolf guy.
Yep. Which is one of the best names I probably have ever heard in my life, by the way.
It is he is one of my favorite people to talk to.
Yes.
Then there is Kundalini Energy by Shannon Yaziri.
What kind of lady energy? What is that called? Kundalini?
Kundalini, it's like snake energy working with activate your power for enlightenment.
With snakes?
It's just symbolized by snakes. I could probably do an entire lecture over like snakes and stuff like that.
Wow.
Then there's Kabbalah.
That was a great sound effect.
It was. Well, I just had trouble saying Kabbalah, which is really bad.
Kabbalah.
Then there's Witchful Thinking.
I like that one.
You better start reading that one right away. I think that might be a positive take for you.
You better start going to find paper bags to put over that beard.
I am traveling at breakneck speed through Clarkson, Missouri, trying not to get a ticket.
Anyways.
So that's great. Witchful Thinking.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you've got tons of stuff in there.
They're sending you a ton of stuff.
The Witch's Book of Spellcraft by Jason.
Oh, I like that one.
And a lot of these are like upcoming titles to look into because I also get to write reviews and stuff like this.
Nice.
Stuff like that. And the book we talked about earlier by Storm Fairy Wolf. Let's see.
Satyrs Kiss.
Yes. I'm very excited about this.
You have a lot of good reading there.
Yeah, Jared. Wait, as a matter of fact, Jared! Baby! Where he's at. He's gone MIA.
Oh,
I think
all
I
right.
just take us through the house to try to go find him, but I don't want I don't want you to get motion sick.
All right, so I have a question. I have two questions, actually.
Sure.
First of all, and I mean this with all respect, I want to understand it. Is there?
Look who's here.
Hi, we were waiting for you. Looking.
Immediately toss a clothes in the closet. Thank you.
Hold on.
That
Wait.
was perfect.
Hold on 1 second. Turn this off. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Much better.
There we go.
Hey
All
guys.
right. Hi, Jared. We were wondering when you
How's
were
it
going to make an
going?
appearance. We're good. We're good.
I've been listening to it in the living room.
Awesome.
And then
Oh,
I
is
started
that
going,
why?
Baby!
That's why you came in and closed the closet door. We thought that was perfect.
I'm sure he came in and he's like, really, Aaron? showing your junky ass closet.
I heard the shade.
So, Jared, what do you think of Aaron's podcast? Do you listen to every episode? Like the good partner you are?
I have actually not listened to every episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hear about witchy stuff all day,
Yep.
every day. I do want to listen to all of them, but I haven't yet.
So,
He
Aaron,
go ahead.
explain to us the whole idea of the fairy tradition.
The fairy
Because-
tradition of witchcraft.
Yes, because
Was,
a lot of people tend to think of it as like the fairies, but it's different, right? It's not like the traditional fairies that you think of.
It is. It's not like the cute little sprites and,
Right,
and stuff
right.
like that. The fairy tradition is an American tradition of witchcraft that was founded by Victor and Cora Anderson a while back. And it basically talks about, if memory serves me correctly, the way that Victor defined the fairy tradition was developing relationships with spirits and learning how to work with those spirits.
Right.
And it comes with like its own like system of deity and stuff like that as well. It's different than Wicca. If you listen to the Storm Fairy Wolf episode, he talks a bit about the difference between fairy and Wicca.
Right.
I think I'm gonna head out. I don't know what I can add, you know.
You can add
Just your
You can-
cuteness.
Oh, thanks.
somebody needs to bounce that pod. He came in, and all the dogs came in, and Peach and Arthur came in.
Aw.
Well, I'll take my Daisy Dukes out of here. But good to see you guys.
You too. Love you.
Love you too.
Okay, baby, I'm still here. Don't worry.
Oh, you guys are so in love. Oh my God. So
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that Aaron does anything where he has to call Jared in to find out whether or not his headsets are plugged in. You know what I'm saying?
shut up. Screw you, Todd. Anyways, all right. So my other question is this, and this comes from a totally dumb standpoint because I don't know the answer to this.
I don't like Sandy. I don't like it whenever smart people call themselves dumb.
Okay,
Because
this is
you're not dumb. You just want to know.
yes. This is an inquisitive question. You are correct. Is there a difference between there are a lot of books out there that kind of mention the queer side of witchcraft as opposed to just witchcraft. Is there a difference? Is it just the perspective is different? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. The perspective is kind of different because if you're like me, there is usually in traditional witchcraft, especially with like traditional Wicca, Gerald Gardner believed that like the only way to like produce like magic and stuff like that was lining at the polarity of male and female.
Okay.
But then there's people like who are in the queer community who don't identify with being male or female.
Right.
And any polarity, whether it be like male, female, north, south, different representations of the polarities can produce magic.
Mm-hmm.
And the queer side of spirituality tends to get farther away from that polarity and that gender polarity.
I gotcha. That makes sense. Which kind of brings us all the way back around to there is no right or wrong belief system.
Exactly. I've dealt a lot with that back in the day. See, exactly, Susan.
Yes, thank you, Sue. I know.
And then they're starting to get away, because for a while I ran into a lot of this where it was like only you had to be this way or that. And for a while, they like gay men, lesbian women couldn't participate in traditional Wicca because they couldn't take part of something called the Great Rite.
Okay. That's
but now
fascinating.
a lot of covens and stuff like that will do the Great Rite in token. So it's where like they use a chalice because the Great Rite is essentially having sex.
Okay.
Knocking boots.
Right.
And if you tried to get me to have sexual relations with a woman, that just does not compute for me.
I gotcha. That makes sense. So let me ask you this then. Do straight and gay, bisexual, non-binary people, can they practice together, or is it truly a separate? Okay.
They can practice together, just as like as if the circle is open to taking that kind of adaptation to magic.
Okay. Wow, this is fascinating.
See, just turned into an episode about queer spirituality.
I know, it's great. It's really, I love to be able to understand it because there's so many different perspectives.
It's that's the beautiful thing about magic. And for a long time, people like queer people, like non-binary people like myself, were considered like sacred, and especially also in like Native American traditions they were, but also in different traditions across the world as well.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, Todd, did you have anything? I have a lot of questions going around in my head. I know we're starting to run out of time, but let me ask you this too. Just a couple of weeks ago, you helped me out with something. And how many years have you been practicing witchcraft now?
This year will make my 14th year.
Wow. And what made you decide to get into witchcraft?
I had just left seminary after I came out. I'm like, see you later. I like boys. And they're like, okay, bye. And then I remember the first
I'm sure it was exactly like that, too.
Yeah,
I've heard stories. That's exactly the way all the stories go, just like that.
Exactly. But like, so the very first book I ever picked up on witchcraft was Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. And the rest is history. Here I am now. You can hear about that in my Allow Me to Introduce Myself episode.
That's right.
Can someone bring up my logo, please?
Wow. I was just actually going to do that, but...
You're so sweet, Todd, whenever you want to be.
I love that logo. Very
Traveling at breakneck speeds through
God.
Clarkson, Missouri, trying not to get a ticket.
So I have to tell you something that absolutely positively that has to be on one of his podcasts. You don't have to tell him where it's going to be since you're the producer of it. That audio's got to shit. Like maybe
I'm just going to show up. It's going to show up
at the very end of the podcast.
Yes.
Like maybe like 2 or 3 seconds of dead roll, and then just that audio.
We'll do the outro music.
Like that, Todd.
We'll do the outro music, and then at the very end where it just ends, we'll do the 6 seconds of audio.
I'll make a road trip to Wisconsin. You see this?
Bring it.
You're only going to have a bad knee left because I'll cut your leg off.
So, but thank you for your help a couple weeks ago too. I needed some help with something, with a sort of a protection, and you came through very quickly for me, and I appreciate that. And do you ever, like, what kind of, now did that involve on your end? Did that involve any kind of spell of protection, or did you do anything, or was that all in my court?
That was all in your court.
That was great.
That was anything that does. I can tell people how to do it whenever it comes to protection, because in my opinion, protection has to be done by the person needing protecting. I can lend like spells and energy and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you have to put in the work too.
Yeah. Yeah. I even had Dave doing it with me. So,
wow.
Yeah. He doesn't question things anymore. Now that he's like more into everything, be quiet, Todd.
Of course he doesn't, because he lives with Crazy Lady. So if she says jump, he's like, how high do you need it, dear?
Well, I will tell you
Just don't
this.
hit me.
I will tell you this, though. In the past couple of years, since Todd and I met and started doing this, and my abilities and stuff started to come out more, and we've been investigating. He's on our investigation team. He sort of changed a lot of his ways of thinking, things that he may not have understood or sort of brushed off a little bit before. He takes much more seriously now. It's great to see. Like, he even wants to spend money on equipment, which is something he never really wanted to do before. So, yeah, so he was right there with me. I said, don't question me. We just have to do this. And we did it. And I set my intention, and so far, so good. So thank you for that very, very much. I appreciate
You're welcome.
My friend.
No problem. No
So thank
problemo.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the hair club for men. Not only do I talk to witches, I'm one too.
I am a witch. That's awesome.
Not only am I the president, I'm a member too.
So what can we expect in season 2? Do you have any guests lined up yet?
Oh yeah, I've already got the roster pretty chock full.
Awesome.
I actually have a Indigenous practitioner who's going to be on.
That's great.
And I'm also, my friend Laura Tempest Zakharov is going to be on the show as well.
I
That's
love
just
the
two
names.
people.
I love the names. That's like worth the entire podcast right there. So these are Storm Fairy Wolf, like I said, is one of my favorite names ever. Ever.
You know what my favorite name is? Sandy.
Oh,
Aunt
thanks.
Sandy.
Aunt Sandy. I don't even know how that started, but it's hilarious.
Her real name is Crazy Lady Girl. That's what her magic name is. Written by Crazy Lady Girl.
Jessica's joining us. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for coming in tonight. So, yeah. Yep. Thanks, boys. Guys.
I appreciate you being on, Erin, and taking time on our first live cast back and coming on and talking. We both feel really strongly about your podcast. I mean, I'm the one that came to you and said you should do one. I'm glad you are. And I think
you pestered me for months, like, do a podcast.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're doing well with it. And at some point it will become the Erin and Sandy cast, which I think is just awesome.
Don't listen to him. But I will say that I am really enjoying being able to do your podcast. I love being able to hear it before everybody else. And I'm really enjoying doing it because you have some really great guests. And like Todd said, I come across hundreds of podcasts. And if you're not passionate about it, if you're not knowledgeable and passionate about it, it's not going to come through. And yours comes through. So really good job. Proud of you.
Anyone who's like aspiring to do a podcast, kind of like I caught the tail end of saying that, like, it can be about anything as long as you're passionate about it, and just the drive there and the discipline is to actually put it out. You should do it. It's not as complicated as it sounds.
No, I try to make it as easy as I can. Like, I'll walk anybody through it. You know, we sat down and talked, and I said, here, because Anchor only gives you about 8 seconds worth of music and you don't really get to, and I said, send me your music, send me your stuff. And we fixed it and we made it into a whole beautiful intro, and we have a beautiful outro, and we just made it sound so good. And so, you know, I like to be able to walk people through it and explain it to them. And you did a great job with it.
Dudes with brews on a porch. He's going to start a podcast about various leaks.
True.
I come across in my daily life. Hey, if you're passionate about it, it's kind of a weird flex, but okay.
If that's your passion, Drew, go for it.
If you're passionate about leaking, do it. See a doctor and then do it.
That just sounds so wrong in so many ways. I don't know. Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
I love them. I do.
So I have to tell you that I always watch our live cast afterward to see, you know, if there's anything we forgot or I forgot or things, you know, and The one thing that just was glaring to me was that open closet door in the background. I don't know why I caught that and I couldn't let it go. I could not let that go.
Well, and then when Jared came in and immediately closed it, that was absolutely perfect. But of course, Jared listens in the other room.
Right, but I also think
Jared
has a good eye.
Yes.
And probably, even if the closet door wasn't open or I had not mentioned it, I think that he would have noticed it himself and probably said, what's Eron doing in there kind of thing.
What is going on?
Right.
What is going on? I know. I think he just has that personality that you just know he would have noticed the closet door either way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what a great episode. What a great live cast that was. It was a lot of fun. They're always a lot of fun to have on because they're so knowledgeable, yet willing to have some fun and be a little goofy and just, maybe we can get them on to pull some cards for us soon, too.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
That would be really cool. So thank you very much to Eron Mazza for joining us once again, someone that we consider a friend. And and so I edit and produce the podcast for Eron every episode. They just are finishing up season 1, and then we'll be on to season 2 very soon. I think in April is their target. And I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's a great podcast. And so one of the things that I wanted to mention is about our side project, Mindgarden Media, because it's just a side project that we decided to take on. I edit and produce podcasts for a living now. And so lots and lots of them come across my desk. And we decided that we wanted to help out anyone who really wants to do a podcast, has absolutely no idea where to start, or maybe has some ideas where to start, but doesn't understand how to put it together. We want to help out. We do podcast editing and producing, consulting. We can help you get started, give you some ideas. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people have an idea, but don't know what in the world to do with it, or say, nobody's going to listen to what I have to say. It's not true. There's actually an audience for just about anyone. And I say this because I see such a variety of podcasts crossing my desk all the time. I think the main key is if it's something you love to talk about and you want to share with people, if it's a passion of yours, I think there is an audience out there for anyone. So don't let that deter you from starting your own podcast. And I try to keep any kind of prices very reasonable, and I'll help you every step of the way. I know from A to Z, and we just really want to help people be able to start this. We're having a blast. We're heading into season 5 very soon, and we're going to be finishing up season 4, heading into 5. Don't let anything stop you if this is what you want to do. Todd and I were here for you, and all you have to do, we'll put all of the contact information in the show notes. And along with Eron's podcast information in the show notes for this week. Don't be afraid. Contact us and we'll walk you through it. I'm more than happy to, because we have such a good time with it. We'd like other people to be able to have a good time with it too. Love it. Love it. And you too will be able to call her Aunt Sandy by calling now. 1-800 Aunt Sandy. Poncho. I think I am going to just refer to myself as Aunt Sandy from now on. You know, it works. It works. So, although if you want one of those cool metaphysical names, the Poncho name should be in there somehow. Like Life Spirit Poncho or something like that. Spirit Poncho. Oh, God. Hey, look, I like ponchos. What can I say? I like ponchos and I forget to plug in my headphones. What can I say? Listen. All right. So, just make sure you like our page on Facebook. Give us a review. Join our group, Stay Weirdos, Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast. We have a blast over there. Mindgarden Media has its own page. Follow along there. Our other podcast, the Empathecary Podcast, we also have that on Facebook. You can follow that. We just put out a new episode about a week ago. And that's about it. Just make sure you like and follow us. All of the platforms you find your podcast, we are there. So Give us 5 stars. Tell everybody you like us because that bumps us up and more people can see the things that we do. So.
All right. Love it. Until our next podcast, which will be episode 11 out of 16.
Wow.
We're getting close to the end. I can see the deadline.
What a fun season this has been, too.
Really has been. Till next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.